My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. And today I want to continue my talk about pet grief. Today is also Father's Day, so it made me think about this a lot. So the question I want to talk about today is, why does pet loss sometimes feel worse than losing a person? And one of the things that came into my mind today is that I don't think society allows for people to comfortably feel worse about losing a pet, or the way I would say it is losing a family member. Somebody like me, I don't have children. So if I'm taking care of my dogs and I'm taking care of them in every way and I'm responsible for their life completely, they are my kids. So when I look at a day like today as Father's Day, I'm supposedly not supposed to have any feelings about a day like this, right? Because I don't have children. And to make matters a little bit worse, I was at church this morning, and when you go in there, they give you this bulletin. And if you read through the bulletin, towards the back, they have an area where they allow for people who are remembering those they have lost, or they're acknowledging someone who's fighting a disease or an illness. And I noticed that, I mean, obviously that's a good thing to do and it should be done, and you want to pray for those who are sick and for those who are trying to help them and, feel the pain of going through all that. I understand that. But a lot of times when I'm looking through this, we're either remembering people or we're acknowledging people that are some like third cousin or an uncle or a person in the family that they haven't seen in 30 years. But because it's a person, we're all supposed to feel deeply hurt by this, which is fine. I understand that. But there's no area to be able to put what it would be like to lose your dog that you've had for over a decade and that you've taken care of and that you see them every single day. But it's okay in the bulletin to pray for people that have not been in people's lives for decades. So I find that kind of interesting. So what am I talking about here? Why does pet loss sometimes feel worse than a person loss? Because I don't think society can really support you the way people need to. And in one way, you could say that grief is a very lonely process, and I would agree with that. But it also helps to feel support from those people around you. And also that at least you wouldn't feel that if society couldn't understand it, that at least they're not going out of their way to make you feel that there's something wrong with you. So that's just what was on my mind today. Let's talk about good relationships here. So when we are in a good relationship, and it could be in any relationship or a romantic relationship where we're falling in love, the other person is technically, they're holding up a mirror to ourselves. So if they accept us as we are, they're non-judgmental, they love us in our totality, for our good and for our bad. They want to see the best for us. In other words, they're not envious, they're not jealous, they don't feel, you see this a lot with people that are around you. Like they want to see you do good, but they don't want to see you do too good, that type of thing. So if you're around somebody that wants to see the best in you, they expect the best from you. What do I mean by that? Because most human beings, or all human beings, have a lot of issues from, let's say, childhood. And they may have a low self-esteem, they may be insecure, they may not have the ability to trust people fully. And in this sense, they're not expecting the best from you. They're looking to see when the shoe's going to drop, and so they're looking to see the worst in people. And I see this a lot when I'm doing therapy with people. It's hard to look at the world as is if the eyes you're looking through are jaded in some way. And so you don't really see the world as it is. You see the world as you are. But it's different with dogs. And I'll get to that in a second. Also, in a good relationship, you want to have a relationship where the love can flow both ways. In other words, you feel comfortable giving love, and the other person is comfortable with receiving love, and you're also comfortable with receiving and giving love. And you want to hope that there's a minimal amount of the person's or your personal frailties don't get in the way of being able to love and to be loved. And you hope that the social constructs in the world also don't get in the way of this. But of course, we both know, or we all know, that it does. Let me give you an example. I had a client, the last couple of weeks we've been talking about this. And this person comes in with their dog, right? It's their emotional support animal. And their thought about themselves is that they're not good in relationships because they don't have the ability to show affection. They feel very uncomfortable with affection. And this could be for a few reasons, right? It could be for a lot of reasons. But the basics is that they feel uncomfortable with themselves to express themselves to another human being because they don't think it's safe. Also, maybe the people in their life are not people that are very safe to show affection to. And so they look at this and say it's a frailty in them where they can't show affection. And so they have shame and guilt over it. But maybe it's not them. Maybe it's their environment that doesn't allow for affection to be given and received. And one of the ways I pointed this out to this person is that when they bring their dog in to the session, this person is constantly showing affection to the dog. And there's a love that's received and given. And when I pointed this out to this person, they almost couldn't believe it. Like, they don't understand. Like, this is a transferable skill. If you can show affection for a dog or any animal, cat, whatever, you have the ability to show affection and you have the ability to receive affection. That's just a fact. Now, can you do it with the people around you? So now you have to ask, why is that? Again, maybe it's your environment. So what am I looking at here? What I'm trying to say is that when you're in a good relationship, the person is a great witness to our life and who we are. They see us at our best, or they think of us as in the best way possible. They have a very charitable explanation for the things that we do in life. They're not trying to look for the gotcha moments and all the negatives and all your mistakes. Assuming that we can have a perfect mirror, that we have a partner that can hold up a mirror to you and show you all the things that you are in terms of being good. What happens is that we feel more than enough. And this may be very fleeting. It may not happen in anybody's life, right? You may not have a good enough partner to do that. It's very difficult to be able to find that type of partner because people are not perfect. People are very much less than perfect. But what if you have a dog? This dog is always happy to see you. They do accept you for who you are. They do expect the best from you, and you expect the best from yourself as well, because you want to live up to that. And they do trust you. And they are forgiving, and they are caring, and they are non-judgmental. There are all of these things that most human beings don't have the ability to do. So when you're in front of a dog or a cat that expresses these types of qualities, and they're showing up that mirror to you that you're basically perfect, you know you're not, but it feels pretty close to it, that's for sure. And I think that's one of the reasons why pet loss can feel worse than a person loss. The other thing I would add to it is that, like in my case right now, I talked about it last week. This coming Tuesday will be 2 weeks since Kubi, we had to put him down. Nelson is on his third round of chemotherapy. And it's not looking great, and even if it was looking a little bit better, the writing's on the wall. So right, there's anticipatory grief here. But Nelson was a rescue. And you start looking at it and you realize he was very much abused when he was a puppy. And now we're able to give him a good home with a lot of love and care. And you look into his eyes as it's running down to the last moments of his life. I don't know how long it's going to be, but it's going to be sooner than later. You just hope that I had the ability to give him the best life possible, because he's 100% dependent upon me. And so it becomes a massive privilege to be able to do that, because he needs the best in me, and therefore I'm willing to give the best of me. But when you're dealing with human beings, it's a little bit different, because people are not fully dependent upon you. A lot of them have other agendas. Even if you have kids, again, I don't know what it's like to have a biological kid, but listen, I know enough about kids. And just the way nature works is that kids grow up and they are supposed to leave the parents. And this never happens with dogs. And so there is something that's a little bit different with that. I'm going to do another show on this, maybe next week, and I'll talk about the neural pathways. But losing a dog that you're close to is very similar to losing a child, because it is a dependent. And yeah, I'll say that more for the next show about why this is. But let's just, for today, one of the things I wanted to express to people out there, if they're listening to this, is that yes, pet loss can feel worse than losing a person. And I don't want people to feel guilty about it, because society can make you feel guilty about it. You know, let's also talk about how dogs are virtually perfect. And people, because they're not, you can lean into other things and how you think about them. I'll give you an example. Like if we're talking about Stoic philosophy, what they would do is you have the ability to focus on whatever you want to, right? So it's not what happens to you that really bothers you or can hurt you. It's your thought about what's happening. And I'll give you an example. So I was married a long time ago. She died. Obviously, you can't think of a necessarily a silver lining there. But over the years, I have been able to think of a silver lining. Now, back then, I wouldn't have been able to verbalize it because it sounds very bad. And again, society has very bad words for people who are going to say things that I'm going to say right now. But there was a time when she was healthy, and I had mentioned to her that I really wanted to go back to college to earn another degree and a license, because I wanted to be a marriage and family therapist. And she did not want the best for me. She took it as something else. And as human beings are, when you know that somebody, let's say, is belittling you, or they're condescending, or they're very confrontational, or they're suspicious, or they're very anxious, or they're very angry, and these types of things, and they're not really supporting you or admiring you in some way to be the best that you can be and to reach your full potential. Her thought was that me going back to college would take away money from the kids, and so therefore it's a zero-sum game, where if I went to college to better myself, that would be money that would be better spent on the kids, and so therefore get it out of my brain. Don't do something so narcissistic and so self-centered, and this type of thing. And it was just very, very negative, the whole thing. Well, after she died, I had no excuse, so I went back to college and I was able to obtain my license in marriage and family therapy. And this is one of the things that you have no idea, like, necessarily how things are going to work in life. But when I'm in front of clients and I'm doing my best to help them, one of the reasons why I'm there is because I had a wife who died. And it gave me all the room and the reason in the world to continue my education, because I didn't want to spend the money and spend the time going back to college at that time when I had somebody that was just wanted to be an albatross on my neck, pulling me down, and didn't want me to better myself and didn't have any nice things to say, for whatever reason that might be. And so now, every time, every hour, every day that I'm helping somebody, it's almost literally because of the silver lining that she died and opened it up. So now I can be a better person, not just for myself, but for the people around me, and I could be a better person and a better functioning tool, or of more of value to society at large. And I'm very proud of that. So if I ever felt bad or sad throughout maybe some time of my life, as time goes on, I could always point to the fact of, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be who I am today. On the other hand, it's very hard when a dog dies to find the silver lining, because the only thing I could really think of is that nature is nature. Nature does what it does. Nature gifts you this living thing, and then at some point nature takes it back. And that's the way nature works, and you have to be okay with that. But I can't really find the good part of that, of where having that death would create something good in my life. I've been trying to tell myself that it opens it up for me to take care of another dog that needs to be rescued. And that could offer a little bit of solace, let's say, a little bit of peace. But that's all I can come up with. Anyway, the show is a little bit too long here. Anyway, I just don't want people feeling guilty that losing a pet feels way worse than losing a person a lot of times. Not all the time, I'm not saying that, but please, just don't feel guilty if you lose a pet and you feel bad and you need to cry and you need to feel bad. You need to go through all those feelings, whether society supports you or not. My name is Joe Peroni. This is the Rise Above Project. Please subscribe and tell a friend. Thank you.